And we are live. Why did I start talking like Dracula? I don't know. But we have Han Solo in the corporate sector sourcebook. This is not a proper episode, so I dubbed it 21.5. So uh,
That's fair.
take that for what that's worth. But yeah,
Yeah.
here we got this crappy cover.
We were discussing internally the possibility of either waiting to cover this or cover this right after we got through the Han Solo Brian Daly trilogy. And I think it makes sense to cover it now just because it's fresh in our minds. We'll go through it. We'll share our thoughts, maybe some of the important points that we noticed in going through this, and give you guys an overview for it.
Since this is the first West End Games source book or West End game anything we've covered, has anyone played the West End game system by any chance?
No, I haven't played it. I have read through these quite a bit. Not this one in particular, because it has a lot of information specifically for the Han Solo trilogy, although there are references to some of the other things that were relevant around this time for West End Games. For example, it talks about Spray and how he got promoted, and the whole story of how he got promoted to be a corporate sector authority leader as a non-human was because when the Grand Inquisitor Torben actually toured the corporate sector authority, he saved him from an assassination attempt. There's this Church of the First Frequency, who are not mentioned to my knowledge in any of the Han Solo books, but they're specific to this source book here, actually try to assassinate the Grand Inquisitor. Spray comes to the rescue. He gets promoted. That's pretty cool.
So I've played a few games of the West End Games system. I've exclusively GM'd, so I've never done it from the perspective of a player, but I have as GM. And it is a fun system. It's really fun to play. And there's a lot of good information in these source books. I have the Tales of the Jedi one, Dark Empire, the movie one, and I think I have one more. It might be is it the Shadows of the Empire one? It might be the Shadows of the Empire one. I'd have to go look. But it's a very fun system. So I am eagerly awaiting talking about all of these, at least to some degree. The ones that I'm going to have a lot to say about are the ones that I own. But these are a lot of fun, folks. So we're gonna try to cover these when we can.
The West End Games is definitely the best Star Wars RPG system. I think that's pretty much the consensus amongst Star Wars fans. And there's a lot of material. There's a lot of material both referencing the EU books, the novels, the comics, and also some independent lore, some characters that are created just for the RPG, which are cool. They're very creative and interesting characters.
I think all of the ones, at least the ones that I know of that were created for the RPGs, are like really good. What's her name? The bounty hunter, or not a bounty hunter, the smuggler, who with the white hair, who shows up a lot.
I'm blanking on the name. I know exactly who you're talking about.
She's really cool. I like her a lot. She has a really Platt O'Keefe.
Yes, there you go.
I love her.
Right.
She's very cool. She's very sick. I love her a lot. She is like, in my mind, she's like the Mickey Mouse of West End Games, Star Wars. She's like the mascot.
Particularly when it relates to like underworld ships, weapons, smuggling, that sort of thing. Yeah,
just like the most. When I think of expanded universe characters, for some reason, she's the one that I think of.
She's actually
which
got
is great because I can never remember her name.
So.
But one of the things West End Games did was they would produce source books for the books, which I don't think Wizards of the Coast didn't. They produced books for like eras. So like Legacy got one, New Jedi Order got one, and then the prequel and or the Clone Wars got one, Force Unleashed. But these are a lot more useful because they tell you like in detail about the various books. The Truce of Bakura one I read immediately after reading the book. That was pretty good. I have not played the Wizards of the Coast RPG, so I can't weigh in on that side, and I've also not played Fantasy Flight. I can weigh in on their lore not being as good or as interesting, because I have read at least a little bit of each, and I am not impressed. At least not to the same degree with West End games. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we start out, this particular source book begins with an introduction by Voron Now. Like once it goes over what it's covering, it's obviously telling you it's covering the Han Solo and the corporate sector. But chapter 1 talks about Han and Chewie's exploits of the trilogy that we just covered. And Voron Nall, he's the director of research for the New Republic Inner Council. And he's in the Star Wars source book as well. So he's a West End Games reoccurring character. And you sort of have this interview style that it's asking Han about his adventures. And there's some funny moments. He asks about his former fiance. So Niall says to Solo, well, Counselor Organa Solo has mentioned a former fiance on your recent return there. And Han Solo says, was what? Boy, this is private stuff here. Why don't you go pester someone else? So he's not exactly disclosing everything, which I guess would give you license to believe that not everything here is exactly canon. It's just Han Solo's reaccounting of these events. So if there's something that doesn't mesh with the original novels, I would err on the side of the novel. So I like that West End Games like goes through these methods to make you see that this information is presented in universe, but it may not necessarily be like totally accurate.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to...
pops up all the time in these books.
He does.
So he's a fun little Star Wars deep lore character, and of course our boy Arlo.
That's funny. Han says he's a kid, which means he's younger than Han, which is surprising to me. I would think being the director of research it would be an older guy, but apparently not.
Well, because New Republic they generally are young. Because like Luke is not even 30 by the time they set up the New Republic.
Yeah.
But he's either just turning 30 or he's still in his late 20s.
Mm-hmm. He would have been part of the Rebel Alliance, like intelligence network research team, probably before that, though. Especially within like the Star Wars source book. So he was a long time Rebellion person. But it's cool that we get his signature there.
Yep. But also he wrote this little text file as a personal correspondence between him and Arhol Hextraphon, who's in the background of episode 4. And of course, there's the whole Supernatural Encounters book that came out with him as like the main character. But I thought that I completely forgot this was in here. But he says, sorry, I haven't got a chance to write back in such a long time, but the council has been overloading me with work late. You don't know. You know how it is. Still have some good news. I just got word from Ardalon that they have decided to take such creative license, to have decided not to take such creative license in the future. Your study on Zim era holo iconography won't be turned into a musical anytime soon. On another note, I decided to follow up your suggestion and spoke to General Solo with our recent expansions into regions bordering the corporate sector. Seems like the perfect time to compile all the working information we could, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's just really cool that they had a conversation in this thing. So I wanted to mention the musical part because I thought that was funny.
Yeah. And I think those two are pretty much in almost all of these styles of books. There's one for the Rebel Alliance, a source book for that, and then there's also a source book for the Empire, Imperial source book. And it's about the same size as this for the corporate sector. But what's notable about this is this just covers the Brian Daley Han Solo trilogy. And it's like never something that's touched on in the expanded universe like ever again. The corporate sector is mentioned here and there, but we don't get nearly this lore developed anywhere else like the Empire source book and the Rebel Alliance source book is.
Do we think that's because this is a retrospective thing, and people are like, "Oh, I want to develop this book that came out would have been like 10 or almost 20 years beforehand, depending on."
Yeah, that's probably a bit of it.
I think they might have had an idea, or at least laid the basis, the groundwork for more corporate sector authority adventures. Obviously, we have the Hungarian books. I don't know if those cover the corporate sector authority or not, but this is something that like West End Games developed that isn't really touched on. It may be like the only significant thing that isn't further developed by the later Star Wars literature lines, Fate of the Jedi, Legacy, those sorts of things. Legacy,
Sure.
New Jedi Order.
Yeah.
So I found that kind of weird that we have this whole source book. It's like all goes into all the planets that are in the corporate sector authority, the leadership, how they make their money, all that stuff isn't really used ever again. If you wanted to have your own Dungeons and Dragons campaign with this, like you could use that, but that's pretty much all it's good for, unfortunately.
You would probably have a pretty sick game, to be fair.
Yeah.
So if anybody
That
wants to do that, But
audience, that is a hint.
Go pick this book up. Go on eBay and pay like, I don't know. I don't think it's that expensive. I think I saw it for like 20, 30 bucks.
Yeah, before. $30 at most. There's some cool artwork in it too. I'd buy it just for the artwork, even if you aren't playing the campaign.
Another interesting portion, because this is usually stuff that gravitates me in a source book primarily, is these little like big chunk of lore blocks that they do. So there's the Blood Stripe section, where it's a transcript of oral history compiled a few years ago by Professor Skinks at the University of Roria. The Bador from the book we just read, former instructor at the Republic Imperial Military Academy, as well as a longtime military veteran. But it just talks about the Blood Stripe and sort of what that meant and everything. It's really interesting. So I like that. And it's like a little tiny story in there. So I like that in the source books. So also got some cool artwork like Scott was just talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Corellians, I think we asked the question, like, when does Corellians first appear? It is in the New Hope novelization. Mm-hmm. So when it references Han's home planet in the Lost Legacy book, it really could have said Corellia. I don't know why they didn't. They just chose not to write it.
Okay.
We also have a diagram of the corporate sector authority here. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yes.
Anytime we get any like charts or diagrams, because I'm a huge nerd, I'm like, yeah. What is that? What is that? Look at that. Look how cool. Listen, West End Games, the art always on point. They always got cool art.
Just the direct board of the corporate sector authority. There's all the CEOs do their discussions.
That's so awesome.
So do they have a table that's like looking out into space? So it's like a boardroom,
that's what it looks like.
Corporate table, but it's like, they're above this planet. That shows you they have dominion over this planet. Really,
I think the table is just like, maybe not glass, whatever the equivalent is.
Is it
so they can just look through it.
Steel?
Is that?
Yeah. So they can see the.
Is that looking out onto an actual planet, or is that a hollow projection of a planet?
Which is the cooler answer to that question?
I think the cooler answer, and the one that's more symbolic to the corporate sector being analogous to capitalism, would be that they are standing above the planet, looking down on it as they discuss their stuff.
That's so actually right. I agree.
Yeah. Could be the other one, but the other one has more symbolic significance.
The other one makes more sense logistically speaking, but
So it talks about some of the positions. You have the Office of Prex, you have the Office of Auditor General, which is what Fiola is. That's her job title. And then you have Imperial Advisors, which talked about that they're liaisons with the board and has generously donated countless shares of Imperial Advisors, the Emperor. A lot of cool lore in here. And you get the symbol of the corporate sector authority. If you scroll down on that page there, they have a...
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Corporate
symbol. Right here. We go right here. Corporate sector. But yes, we'll see this little thing here. The Corporate
CSA.
Sector
So
Authority. Developing the
because
galaxy for everyone.
Yeah.
The Corporate Sector Authority provides everything from raw materials to finished market goods, with resources spanning tens of thousands of systems. The CSA meets every need, producing over 5 quintillion credits worth of goods every standard year. The CSA directly employs over 10 billion people for products, for employment, for the future. Remember the Corporate Sector Authority. I can be their spokesperson.
Sometimes
Yeah.
employees, sometimes enslaves. It's
Yeah. Tomato.
Well,
What's the difference?
talks about their media division and their propaganda, and they have advertising
Subliminal
shorts,
salesmanship.
subliminal messages, right? So they're constantly trying to change people's mind and improve their image of how
course
they're.
they do.
Yeah.
I like a lot of
there
this
is a
about
lot of
being
lore
happy.
here for something that never comes up again.
Right.
Let
Yeah.
us be thankful we have commerce. Buy more. Buy more now. And be happy. Change faster,
But
better.
not too
Fast
happy.
progress.
We need to sell you more
Adjust.
stuff.
Alter. Accept. Consume. And be happy.
Sounds a lot like
it's,
like our advertisements that we have here in the
Oh my
United
God.
States on Earth.
you got public relations, demographics, entertainment. Entertainment is responsible for producing most all authorities' public entertainment, including holodramas, comedies, music, theater, Duke of fiction, Duke of fiction dramas. I don't know what that means, but yeah, they got it all. We got recruitment, research division, legal division, sector and pill liaison.
It says entertainment also manages the big league teams that compete throughout the galaxy. These teams have the best training facilities in the galaxy to make sure that they are always competitive. So we don't hear too many sports references in the EU, but it's here.
Alex, do you want to show us the illustration of Pluvo 2-for-1 getting
Where's
Getting
it?
bit.
yes? Did you
Is that
lose my
down
friend
here?
over there?
Hold on.
It is page 89.
89. Okay, let me just go. 89.
So it'd be
You might have to
90
scroll
on
around.
your document.
Yeah.
This.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be Han in the
No.
right side?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
I think that's
There's
just
no
one of his
way.
guys.
Because Han's face on the drawing on the table of contents is really messed up. It kind of looks like that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's unfortunate for that guy.
That's not really how I pictured that creature, but that looks better than how I pictured the creature, so I'll accept that.
It looks like a miniature version of the Attack of the Clones thing
the
that
Acklay.
Obi-Wan fights. Yeah,
The-
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do that noise. I can do a lot of Star Wars noises. I can't do that one.
Yeah. And
It's
then,
even got a little price tag on them, which is cool.
oh yeah, yeah.
Here's the credits
got
I owe
this.
you.
This guy's cool. Little Cthulhu guy over here. Actually, kind of looks like the crab boy from Tales of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you got to show Spray. There's a couple of iconic photos in here. Where is Spray?
Spray's with the other corporate sector executives, I think.
Yeah, so 74 has the Paka and Atur, the cat people from the first book.
That is not what I
Those are pretty
imagined.
cool looking guys. They look like
Those-
they look like the what are they called? The scrubs.
Those look like they would be CGI monstrosities in the prequels, like beings of horror. Like you would look at them and go, "No, get rid of them."
Sprays
What's wrong
on
with cat people?
64.
64. 64, 64. Oh, I'm getting there. Is that Galandro?
Yeah. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Look at that guy.
That looks
I
like they probably used that exact illustration to do the one in the
Essential Guide to Characters.
yeah. Or no, there's another one in what is it? It has all the books. Pablo Hidalgo wrote it. What's the, oh no.
Essential
Oh.
Reader's Companion.
Essential
Yeah,
Reader's Companion.
yeah.
He got one in that too.
That's
Also, this is the blackest black I've ever seen. It's like
I think
obsidian.
it doesn't look like that on my version. That's because that's a
Okay.
scan.
yeah,
Okay.
it didn't scan very well.
It's like it's like
But
that
she
side.
is very dark. It's shaded.
Is it talking about
very
this
dark.
guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This little guy.
Black as
He's
midnight
just
on a
full of
moonless
guy.
night. And Alex, you get that reference now.
I do get it now. I do understand. But I like this guy. He's cool. I also like this picture here. It's good.
Mhm. That's where Han tries to follow Fiola from the second book, Han Solo's Revenge, where she's trying to intercept the person that gives the payment for the shipping job.
Yeah.
There's also on page 47, there's a picture of the Espos, the CSA police. And
You know.
they reminded me of, I think it's in episode 8, when they go to that casino planet. The same police. They have a very similar helmet style.
I do.
as
I
those.
do.
I don't know if
You
that
know what
was.
it kind of looks like?
The space
You know,
balls.
remember Spaceball?
Got
There you
him.
go. Yeah.
Got him. Got him.
Got him. Looks like the Spaceballs guys.
Yeah.
It's also pretty good. His face is still messed up, but
That's a pretty decent Chewbacca. And seeing how bad Chewbacca's have been in the
Yes.
books we're reading, that's
yeah,
that's nice. That's nice to see.
nice change of pace.
Uh,
We got Star's End here.
Yeah, and they have those little character blurbs in with the border around it. Those are new characters, I think, that are just created for these. Whatever they give you the stats, it's an idea of a character that you could play that would be likely to appear in the corporate sector.
there's they give just for for the sake of power scaling, I guess they give stats for everyone. Well, for the sake of playing the game, in their case, for the sake of our power scaling here, they give stats for everyone. I just had it here a second ago, and then I lost it. But Han has, I think, a 6 in blaster blaster use, and Galandro has a 9. So
No,
it's one of
Yeah,
those examples of like codifying skills in an RPG. So in case anyone was curious, could Han have done it? Probably not.
No.
There's a part at the end where it talks about speed drawing on page 122, and I guess you could have an example. It shows an example battle between Han and Galandro, but you could have anybody fight against each other. There, anything that would play out naturally. You could roll dice and see who wins.
That's pretty sick. That's a pretty cool thing to just have in that game, because there are definitely scenarios in which you're doing like an Old West sort of draw, but it's in Star Wars, and you just have to rule on that normally if you didn't have this book. But if you have this book, then you get to have these nice rules.
Yeah, and something you'd see in like the EU fandom are these battles, like who would win in a lightsaber fight between Corran Horn and Kip Duran or whatever. You'd have these like character battles, and everybody would argue, oh yeah, my favorite character would be better than yours, and really have no basis for it. But if you want a statistical basis, just go to these.
That's
I
what-
mean, obviously not all the characters are discussed here, but a lot of them are, especially if you go into like the Wizards of the Coast stuff with the new Jedi Order. So
Yes.
Wizards of the
You have-
Coast like has you got pretty much across the board. It's why I'm very excited to get my hands on the reproductions of the Meg's DC Heroes RPG books, because I can't wait to hit people with ridiculous power scaling trivia. Just absolutely abuse my fellow fans with completely useless trivia based on stats.
How much can Starfire lift?
Not nearly
Yes.
as much as I thought
Yes.
she could.
Yes,
Maybe
not,
a car. Maybe.
not as much as you would think.
So, but we have, look at those drawings of those ships. That's nice. Look at that. Look, what is that?
that's the Pin A
God.
spiders.
That's the Pin A.
Yeah. They have the IRDs. They have basically all of the Espo's speeder bikes, their speeders, their land speeders. There's the IRDs. So those appear in like some of the video games. I think they're in X-Wing Alliance. And they're in certain things like the Star Wars Combine. If you ever played that online, I don't know if that's still around, but like a lot of these ships reappear in a lot of expanded universe material.
Z95 Headhunter.
Yeah, Z95
Yes.
Headhunter, of
Yes.
course. Disruptor pistols, the flechette weapon, the
Oh, we get a look at Bollocks and Blue Max.
What we do? They're down there.
Page 2125.
I'm getting there. Sorry. Sorry.
but yeah, vibro axes. There's a whole lot of weapons that are created by Brian Daly here in that trilogy, and
That's
all of
pretty
them
cool.
are shown in the source book. Like I was trying to go through and finding like a speeder or a starfighter or some sort of ship that doesn't appear here, or a weapon that doesn't appear here. I couldn't find one. It's completely comprehensive as far as I could tell.
This is
Blue Max is
probably
right here.
among the best source books based off of books, because this has
Blue Max right
so
here.
much.
It must have been fun for the people making X-Wing Alliance or any of the other games in that series to go, okay, we have an opportunity to include all sorts of weird ship designs. Let's crack open Kraken's threat dossier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can only have like so many battles with X-Wings, Y-Wings, A-Wings, B-Wings, TIE Fighters, TIE Interceptors, TIE Bombers. You need some other stuff, especially when you have like these independent factions. The Marauder Corvette was another one that's mentioned here. Some of the capital ships like battle wagons. There's an Espo battle wagon and all of these other things. And it's very comprehensive. And the reason why is because it's only covering 3 short books, whereas later on, as these source books kept coming out over the years, when you get into like the Wizards of the Coast era and they're trying to cover the new Jedi Order, there's just so much material they can't cover it as in depth as something like this can.
There's also not like a time limit on this, because this came out way after the books, whereas like the Truce at Bakura, Dark Empire, all those books came out within like a year or two of their accompanying media.
Right.
It's like a push to like have these things line up. Whereas this, it's like, who cares if it's a year late? Like it does, there's
That's
nothing,
true. That's true. I mean, this did come out in the 90s and it was covering like 1970s books. But at that point, in the early 90s, there was only so many Star Wars novels that existed. So they were able to pretty much do a source book for everything. It would be cool if they kept that going later on, because they tried to cover these like vast swaths of novels with one source book. And you just can't do that. You can't do it justice as you can with this.
No, it's one of the reasons why I do think West End Games is the best, role-playing game system for Star Wars. Is it covered the material the best.
One interesting lore bit also near the end is the Khans disorders, which the Khans disorders were a dark period for the Khans sector. At the time, an isolated region of space in the frontier of the Republic, nearly 4 millennia ago, provisional governor Muriel of Argazda turned away from her duties to create a base of power for herself. She and her people revolted against Republic rule. They tried to establish a dictatorial regime and enslave the rest of the sector. At the time, the Republic was preoccupied with many other conflicts. Border wars with expansion of species occurred with depressing frequency. Meanwhile, the Senate was paralyzed with outmoded policies and methods. Over years of careful plotting, Muriel and her servants purged the sector's fleet of disloyal souls and built a network of spies. They waited until the time was right. They assassinated all who opposed them, declared themselves independent. Instead of clean severing of Republic ties, the revolution became a frenzy of destruction. Lord was just one world caught in the conflict. Muriel ordered the world bombed from orbit and its inhabitants sold into slavery. The Lordians collaborated with other revolutionary elements. Muriel decreed that any Lordian who spoke, communicated with another would be put to death. The Lordians were forced to change their culture just to survive. The Republic, overtasked with problems of its own, did nothing. Muriel's empire lasted for 3 centuries until the Jedi Knights were finally able to bring about order and free the Lordians, other persecuted under Muriel. However, in years of conflict, over 500 million Lordians and 5 billion other beings died.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and all of that's new lore to the planet. I mean, some of these, it gives some clarification, like the wearing family clans in the second book, Han Solo's Revenge. Like there's one character named More Glad, and all the other Glad people in his clan. It talks about how duels occur between clans and how that planet's like ruled by those ruling families. I thought that was really cool. It gives a little bit more background to something that may have not been touched upon totally in the second book in the trilogy.
But yeah, very cool.
Talks about smugglers. I mean, this would be a good source book, I think, just for any smuggling adventure. I mean, think of how many smugglers guides. You have the whole Edge of the Empire series for Fantasy Flight Games. I think a lot of this information is probably better than anything that you'd find in some of those guides.
Probably. And if you like these books, which there's a lot of people who really love these books, there's no reason not to get this, not to read this, because this was like made for you.
Yeah, it's so much more.
It adds all this lore. It gives you like, nice illustrations of all the characters. It tells you how things work. It tells you a little bit of history. It's just sick. If you like any of the books that have accompanying source books, you should get it. I love my Dark Empire source book. I love my Tales of Jedi companion, even though it is woefully incomplete because they did it like right after the second arc of Tales of the Jedi. So it's like
we needed a volume 2, but sadly we didn't get one.
So whatever. But what we do have is pretty cool. So.
But yeah, lots of good stuff in there. I see Alex has stepped away, but Robert, do you have anything to say about the source book?
Nothing that hasn't already been covered, but
Alex, anything else?
No, I like the little tidbits it adds. It's cool to know more about the corporate sector and exactly how they function and all that. But beyond that, I don't know. Source books was never my area of expertise, so
that's fair.
I would go and try to find a short little story, little paragraphs of new lore, and then I'd drop out. That's all I did with them. So
we do get to see the pet shop.
Pet shop.
From Star's End, where Han buys the dinko that bites Pluvo 2 for 1.
God, I hate his name so bad. Every time I hear Pluvo 2 for 1, I just want him to get bit again. I agree. I wish they did a Lando one. I think that one actually needed a source book way more than the Han Solo books needed one.
I think that was one of the canceled ones that they had an idea for, but for whatever reason it didn't end up getting made, because there was a lot of problems with Weston Games. I think at the time there was a X-Wing Rogue Squadron one that was supposed to come out that never ended up coming out. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Some of the some of the authors are still around, or some of the writer contributors to these guides. If you ask them about them, they'll still tell you. I know Bill Slavisek, or whatever his name is, came out with basically a background guide telling his experience working on these, and how it developed in his relationship with Lucasfilm. That's worth a read. I think you can get it on Drive-Thru RPG.
I might have to read that because I'm curious. I know like West End Games started to get into real bad debt in like 96 or whatever, and then in 98 they lost the license for Star Wars right before the prequels came out, which was unfortunate for them. They got the DC license in exchange. So they lost Star Wars, they got DC, and then apparently their DC RPG is awful. I've not heard one good thing about it, which is unfortunate because that's the era that I like. So, but
whatever, tomato.
But I don't have a great deal to add about this other than it's a fun system. And
recommend it.
Yeah.
Yes. This is much better than the trilogy. I hate to say it, but it's better than the trilogy.
I don't know if I agree, but that's okay. I prefer story over just information.
If you're like me and you really like tabletop RPGs, you're
that's
probably
another
going to
thing.
like
I've never
it.
done anything, so it's also going to be really generational because most people today don't. I can't think of a single kid younger than me that's touching these things unless they're fans of like Stranger Things and they're like, oh, those kids are playing D&D. I'm gonna go play D&D. It's mostly people my age and older by a lot that are playing these still. I don't really know anybody younger that's doing it. You know, they're playing video games or they're just not touching anything like that in general. So it's a very generational thing. It's a very byproduct of like the 80s and 90s and 70s of the time of these sorts of things that video games or like really good video games. So all you have is your imagination. So it was a fun way. I mean, I've done like 2 D&D campaigns in my entire life. It was really fun, but it's finding if you have a friend group that is willing to do that with you, a lot of these are going to be a lot of fun for you to try out. But if you don't have that, or if you're like me and all your Star Wars friends are online and they don't live in the immediate vicinity of you, try to form some sort of online, go on Discord, call them up, play it, or if it has to be in person, then you might just be out of luck with that. I'll tell you, So, but they're interesting to read regardless if you're a player of the RPG or not. But I think you get a lot more out of it if you're actually using the system. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, oh, there's a nice little frosting on the cake. And if you're like, how we were kind of lukewarm on the trilogy, then I don't know, here's some seasoning on bland food.
If you're like us, if you're like us and you like the lore, you like the universe building, you like the world of Star Wars, you'll get something out of this. However, the thrust of the book is to play a game. So the best thing you could do with it is play it. Use some of that. Use some of those ships and things.
More people should be doing stuff like that and less of like just
less Instagram reels. That's my lesson.
Less Instagram reels.
I'm on Instagram reels too much, and I sit down, I look at like 12 Instagram reels, and 30 minutes have passed. I'm like, no, this is bad. Can't do this. So start playing more.
So use your time more wisely and play more games that make you use your imagination, your mind, and makes you spend time with real people for a bit.
So next up is going to be more Marvel stuff, I'm assuming.
Unfortunately, for a good long while.
So.
Well, unfortunately. Some of it's good. We're almost to the Empire Strikes Back. After the Empire Strikes Back, there is a good Marvel arc.
Yeah, I agree. Until we get to Empire Strikes Back,
I'm actually quite looking forward to getting to the David Michelinie run because we get to look at some really nice art.
I start to like Marvel a lot more once we're out of the New Hope era and we can like do things. But
if Baron Tag shows up again, which I don't remember if he does, that'll be a highlight for me. Every time he pops up, I'm having a good time. But other than that, I'm not really looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to Baron Tag because he's my favorite character from the early Marvel stuff. But
You know what the good part of this podcast is, Alex, since you're in
yeah,
charge of it, if you deem anything isn't worth reviewing, you can skip it over. Nobody's gonna say anything.
We can't,
well, people will say stuff, but I mean, it is my I have the power, but at the same time, it's like I'm disingenuous if I skip because it's like it's gonna go through the entire expanded universe, not just what I like. So because that would be a much
Alex
shorter
out here
list
having
then.
principles and subjecting us to early Marvel Star Wars continuously. Thank
Here's
you.
about
Thank you,
this:
Alex.
if we collectively read an issue that we have nothing to say about, they're going to say we thought it was fine and move on.
Yeah, we are going
We'll
to start.
acknowledge it.
We're going to start compressing these Marvel issues because there's
Yeah.
not a lot happening. There's a whole lot.
We're only going to sit down and analyze it and dissect it if there's something to actually dissect.
Not a lot
Otherwise,
of
we're
plot to
just
get in
gonna
the way
skip
of that
this.
comic. That's what I'll say. Actually, there's way too much
Exactly.
plot, but that's another thing. Anyway,
Because before, I think the issue is that we would sit down and we would analyze panel by panel, but it doesn't deserve it because it's not like later comics which actually have stuff in every panel. So if it's nothing of substance, just scroll, acknowledge it, say anything that may be of substance in a particular panel, and move on. I think that's how we'll go through it real quick.
I agree.
Because when we get to Shira Bree and stuff, we'll have stuff to sit down and slow down.
I will
with,
talk about
because a lot
Shira
of
Bree.
people-
I will make up
substance.
for my lack of things to say about the rest of Marvel when we get to Luke Skywalker Pariah. But
when we get to the Shadow Blades and all that. Pretty cool. Or Whip though. Love that. Anyway, that's about it for the source book. But yeah, check it out. Read it. Maybe play a game with friends if you have any. If you're like me and you want to play it in person, that's gonna be hard. But if you don't mind talking on Discord with someone for a few hours and doing the game, then you should do it. You should do it. Anyway, till next time, more Marvel. God help us all. Bye bye.